Hi everybody, Tripp Harrison here from Twiford Funeral Homes in Manteo, North Carolina and Elizabeth City, North Carolina. And we're here today with another video in our series, When Someone Dies. This is a series of videos that address the logistical parts of losing a loved one. Obviously, this is a difficult time for everyone. There's a lot of emotions involved. And there's a lot of decisions to be made, and it's a time when the better informed you are about your choices, the better decisions that you'll make. And we cover a lot of topics in great detail about all sorts of things that need to be done at the time of a loss. Today's topic is impression memorialization. What does that mean? Well, most of us have come across in our life a gravestone or an urn or a mausoleum, which is a type of tribute to a lost loved one. We've all seen the makeshift memorials assembled by family and friends on a roadside where there's been an accident, someone's life has been lost. There are bridges and roads across the country named in honor of someone who has passed away. I came here from Florida, and we have a number of major bridges that are named after law enforcement officials, law enforcement officers that lost their lives in the line of service. That's all part of being having a creative memorial to a lost loved one. It's a common practice, and there is a type of memorialization that we call impression memorialization. It started many years ago, and they used to call it mourning jewelry, M-O-U-R-I-N-G. What is mourning jewelry? Well, mourning jewelry is a jewel or a piece that is made to commemorate a loved one who has passed away. It can be made for people, or it can be made for pets. It can be made, for a number of purposes. But in these times, the variety of options for this unique and beautiful type of keepsake is amazing. There's a lot of choices out there where we can memorialize the loss of our loved one by doing an imprint. Let me explain. Because these pieces of jewelry are artisan crafted, not every funeral service provider will have access to the broadest spectrum of choices. At Twiford Funeral Homes here in northeastern North Carolina, we have almost 100 years in business, and that's enabled us to create arrangements with these artists and manufacturers, several companies that specialize in different types of impression keepsakes. The most commonly purchased keepsake item of jewelry is a thumbprint, a thumb impression. This is when a funeral director or an embalmer takes a thumbprint from the deceased and scans it into a special file, and that file is then sent to the company that they have chosen, and your loved one's fingerprint is then molded into a precious metal. It's most commonly gold or silver, and that creates then a medium for them to create special jewelry that has that very, very individual touch. What type of jewelry, you might ask? Well, the options are nearly endless. Here's an example of a thumbprint made into an 18-karat gold charm. Can be used on a necklace or a bracelet or an anklet, or there's all sorts of applications for that. This can also be done in white gold. This next one is a sterling silver version of that. It's an imprint medallion, and can be, it depends on what the individual's preference is. There are ring options as well. Here's a thumbprint signet ring with the initial of the deceased raised in the center. It's very classy, very nice looking, and most certainly individual because it is from the thumbprint of your lost loved one. There are other pieces of jewelry that can be created. Here is a beautiful gold bracelet. Another gorgeous option is a wedding ring encircled with the thumbprint of the deceased. I was handling funeral arrangements with a widower a few years back, and he had lost his wife when they were both in their 50s. So it was very difficult and unexpected. He decided to put his existing wedding band on his wife's hand when she was in the casket, and then he had her thumbprint taken and made into a wedding band like this. And he wore that from then forward. He considered himself eternally committed to her, and this was a special wedding ring created with her thumbprint on it, which I thought was a very sweet gesture and a great way of expressing his eternal love for her. Sadly, in my line of work, we do handle the death of children and babies occasionally. This is an unimaginably painful event for everyone, especially the parents, of course. Many will consider a piece of jewelry honoring the short life of their lost child. In these cases, we can offer jewelry fashioned from the handprint or footprint of the lost child because obviously they're much smaller. This is a way for the parents and other loved ones to keep the precious memories of their little one close to their hearts. Let's take a look at some of these. Here are some pieces showing what a fine precious metal artisan can create from the scanned footprints and handprints. This is a footprint bracelet. Here are some pieces showing what a fine precious metal artisan can create from those scanned footprints and handprints. This is a footprint bracelet, really beautiful. And here's the same design in a handprint bracelet. What I like about these is that they're very simple. You don't need extra ornamentation because it's not about being bling. It's a memorial to that lost loved one, in this case, a child, which is particularly difficult. Here are two designs for earrings. They can be made in a variety of sizes. And this one is my favorite. It's a heart pendant with a footprint. What a precious tribute to a tiny life lost, is encircled with a heart, and of course would probably be used, I would imagine, in a necklace. This next example is called a remembrance band. It has the footprint of the child repeated all the way around it. It's very simple, but obviously extremely meaningful. The signet ring I showed earlier can also be imprinted with the handprint or footprint of a child as well. We have the footprint here, and we have the handprint here. So I realize that no one likes to think about death, especially the loss of a child. And I'll confess, it's hard for us funeral directors and staff too. I mean, we shed tears right along with the family. But as time passes, I think it's nice to have these impression memorialization options so that months, years, decades later, the family will have something on them. So they will always remember the precious memories of their family member, no matter what the age. And no matter who has passed away, this impression jewelry is a generational item as well. Imagine if this technology had existed 100 or 200 years ago, and what if you had been given a necklace that had your fingerprint or footprint of your great-great-great-grandfather or grandmother. To me, that would give me pride in my family's history and my ancestors. It's most definitely a heritage item. It sort of is not unlike a grandfather clock that might have been made 200 years ago. That it's sort of like a grandfather clock that where it might be 100 or 200 years old. In our family, we have passed down these couple of clocks that keep going down from generation to generation. But unlike a clock that can break and eventually become useless, these pieces of jewelry are the same 200 years from now as they are today. So that's a great heritage item. At Twiford Funeral Homes, we even have the resources to permanently emboss your loved one's signature or anything they've written and reproduce that on a piece of jewelry. If you're not in our area, which is northeastern North Carolina, ask the funeral home you've chosen if they offer this option. It's a really great and extremely unique item. So what's the price range on these things if the funeral home that's handling the arrangements offers them? Well, because of the constantly fluctuating cost of precious metals, it's impossible to give a quote that lasts very long. Here's a look at precious metal pricing, gold pricing over the last 30 years, and it's all over the place. So it's really the cost of the materials that's the main variant from price to price. The best thing to do is to talk to your funeral director. Ask them if their funeral home has these options, and come up with a design and select a metal, and then allow them to get a quote for you so that you can make the determination if that's going to be within your budget. And there's also no surprises that way. So I hope this gives you food for thought on creative and beautiful ways to remember a loved one lost. Offering these products and many other creative products and services are what makes our funeral home, Twiford Funeral Homes, like many other family funeral homes around the country, so proud. After almost 100 years in business, Twiford Funeral Homes will always strive to give families many choices and preserve their precious memories of their loved ones who have left them in unique and wonderful ways. There's a lot of options out there that we didn't have before. So I hope that through this difficult time for you, or the difficult time that you're expecting with a terminally ill loved one, that you'll consider some of these things that only become more meaningful as time goes on. I'm Tripp Harrison. Be sure to like and subscribe to our channel. Hit the notifications bell so you'll know when we have a new video out. And we're happy to be able to serve our market area. Consult with your local family-owned funeral home if you're not in northeastern North Carolina. We'll see you next time here on our channel. Until then, stay safe.